Hello, everyone, and welcome to the JesterBell review of Hunger Games: Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. Now, you are going to be hearing a lot of negativity on this movie over the weekend because it looks like it's really going to underperform in expectations at the box office compared to the last Hunger Games films. And I think that there's going to be a lot of temptation from people to say that it's Rachel Zegler's fault. For those who don't know, Rachel Zegler got herself into a bit of controversy over her attitude in some videos, and I covered that, but I'm here to tell you now that this movie is not doing well because not doing well because of Rachel Zegler, and it's not because it's a bad movie by any means. In fact, I'm about to call Hunger Games: Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes the surprise of the year. It's not doing well because the book it's based off of was not popular, relatively speaking. And before we get into the review, let me explain some of that. So, Suzanne Collins, writer of The Hunger Games, was going to write a new book, and everyone knew that it was kind of just as an excuse to do another movie. But, and there was a lot of hype around this until she announced the premise of the book. The original Hunger Games is about a girl action hero who essentially has to fight through a coliseum. But Suzanne Collins, would choose to write the prequel about the dictator from the first movie, about his young years, the character played by Donald Sutherland in the original movies. And instantly, when she announced that kind of killed all the hype for the book and got a lot of backlash, and I wasn't able to, I forgot to check how many copies it actually sold when it came out, but it was not well received. People wanted to read a book about a girl fighting her way through a coliseum, and Suzanne Collins chose to write a book that was more of a psychological study about a character's fall from grace. And there actually, in the book version, are barely any Hunger Games necessarily, because it's all told in the first person from the perspective of the dictator, young dictator Coriolanus Snow, and he only watches the Hunger Games from afar. But that does not mean that it is a bad book. It is sort of a mixed bag because there are a lot of good things in the book that we'll get into, but people just did not like the premise of it. But I enjoyed it, and I soured on it a little bit when I was thinking back to it. But now that I watched the movie, and now we're going to get into it, this movie, once again, is the surprise of the year. It's actually a good movie. And so that's why it's not going to do well at the box office necessarily, because it's based on a book that wasn't popular. The era of teen dystopias has long passed, and so that's why that it might not do well. It's not because of Rachel Zegler, but Songbirds and Snakes actually pretty good movie. I've seen so many bad movies this year. This is actually one of the better films I've seen this year. So what makes it good? Well, the first thing that makes it good is the performances. Everyone in this film is just so well cast. This is my first exposure to actor Tom Blythe, who plays Snow in the movie, and he just carries, he just gobbles up scenery. He just draws you into every scene he's in. He is able to convey so much from the character, and it's not an easy performance because it's an adaptation of a book that was told in the first person, completely from Snow's perspective, and now in the movie, we're more seeing it from the third person. So he needs to convey a lot of what Coriolanus Snow, Suzanne Collins should not have called him that, but Snow, he's able to convey a lot that Snow is thinking in the moment. And there are some moments where it's just impossible. For example, his relationship with Lucy Gray, which is kind of the core of the book. You get a lot more from that in his perspective in the book that you can't in the movie, and how she was really the thing keeping him from turning to the dark side until he eventually decides to abandon her too, and decides what he really loves the most. So we don't get too much of that in the movie, which I thought was unfortunate, but other than that, we just get such a riveting performance from Tom Blythe, and just such an interesting character, and all the other cast. Viola Davis is amazing in everything she's ever been in, as the creepy Dr. Gall, who brought the Hunger Games to life and sort of grooms and mentors Snow. She's just incredible. I forgot to look up the man who plays Sejanus, another character from the book, who represents somebody who's very against the games, but he also did well. As for Rachel Zegler, she hasn't said anything that was off-putting to me during the press tour of this, but she was decent in the film. She has an amazing singing voice. As an actress, she is good, but because she's playing a character with a Southern accent. There were many times in the film where you could hear her accent slip. And so that's something where it shows that she needs to refine her craft still in some areas. But overall, I actually really enjoyed her in the role and what she brought to the movie. Now, what makes the movie interesting, once again, is Snow's character and Tom Blythe's performance of him, and how you get that this guy is very, very motivated by his own selfish gains, but maybe he has a little bit good left in him, that he's trying to do both at once. He's trying to do something good, and he's also trying to get his own selfish gains. And throughout it, he's actually a person who's making suggestions about the Hunger Games, of how to make them more entertaining. And he's doing so for his, once again, his own agenda, because he wants to save his own tribute, who he's mentoring, who is Lucy Gray, once again, who he forms a relationship with. And he inadvertently invents a lot of the things that make the Hunger Games so terrible, like making the audience emotionally invested in them, making sure that there's a victor, making them more competitive, all of those things. And that is why Dr. Gall takes an interest in him. So there's a lot of interesting things in the book and in the movie about a person's fall from grace and that sort of complexity. Now, there are more Hunger Games and more action in the movie version, which I liked. The book, what really lost people is when the Hunger Games stopped and when Coriolanus goes to District 12 and becomes a peacekeeper. And in the book, it is really slow, and there is a lot of meandering of what happens there. In the movie, I think that it has maybe the opposite problem, where it goes really, really fast, and that kind of benefited in some ways to make it a bit more entertaining. But there was one part, a very crucial part, where Coriolanus finally betrays a friend, and I felt that needed more emphasis, because the movie didn't emphasize exactly how far down the path of evil he goes, and I wish that they did. But it does get there is a very intense moment at the end of the book that I thought was very, very well adapted at the end of the film, where Snow finally turns completely to the dark side and turns on Lucy Gray and tries to kill her, essentially. And I just thought that was very, very well done. And the movie is a little slow. I could see how some people, it's longer, but overall, I wasn't bothered by it. I was engrossed in the film. I enjoyed myself. I just think that it is not going to get the box office, once again, because of the book being not well received, and because there wasn't a lot of hype leading up to the film because of it. But it is not a movie that should be slept on. It's really good. I enjoyed the action sequences. I enjoyed the characters. I especially enjoyed the performances, the set design, everything. Is it going to win an Oscar? No, but I would watch it again, honestly. It is the surprise of the year. I thought it wasn't going to be good, but it's pretty good. It's a solid 8 out of 10 movie. So that is my review for Hunger Games: Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. If you are a teenager, I think you'll really like this film. If you're a young adult, you probably will. Maybe older crowds won't, but I would definitely recommend checking it out. And I will be here next week with more reviews and reviewing the movie Wish from Disney, and I will see you guys next time.